Yo, welcome to the Spaceless Realms Podcast. And I'm here with Kalki. And me and Kalki are going to be going over the survival guide to the apocalypse and how to live in a world like today. And if you were to design your life like a story and design your life the way that you want to create your dream existence, then I'm sure you will be able to get something out of this podcast. So, yeah, Kalki, welcome, bro.
Pleasure to be here as always. Yeah, it's very interesting to look at because a lot of people don't seem to realize we live in a real life. Like the holographic universe theory is one of the most prevalent theories in astrophysics, and it's actually very accurate in its description of reality. We are like holograms. Like the soul is supposed to weigh 21 grams. We're like hollowed grams. At the end of the day, most of the universe is not composed of matter, but is composed of antimatter and dark matter and dark energy. So most of what we are is hollow, but in the physical appearance, because it whirls around at lightning speed, the atoms are giving the vibrational frequency of a force field that gives the illusion of solid matter. But it's very much similar to a fan spinning around at such lightning speed that if you try to put your hand through the fan, you're just going to hit a surface. Now,
Mhm.
if you didn't see it and it was spinning so fast that it looked like a perfect circle, you would just assume, if you didn't hear the noise and you didn't see it moving, that it was just solid matter, and if you tried to touch it, you would bounce back. So that's very much how the nature of particular matter functions. But what's interesting with that is that at the end of the day, we are in a sort of a video game, which could be akin to a prison, depending on what you're living as a reality. Many people are living slave labor. Many people are living horrible conditions, war torn countries. A lot of things are changing. The world is shifting, but we are still living a mass extinction and the greatest genocide in 65 million years of history. So at the end of the day, we should be prepared in many different senses, like you said, to survive this apocalypse. Because a lot of people don't realize they just go day to day doing a 9 to 5, buying slave labor items, doing all kinds of things that contribute to horrible karma for themselves. They don't realize the energy they're accumulating is making them age faster, is making them sick, it's making them go in bad states of consciousness, it's making them ignorant of certain essential medicines, which they use to replace with drugs instead. And so a lot of that is putting us in a sense in a kind of a cross between, say, I would say the best way to put it in a binary simplified sense would be to say it's kind of like a blend between, you can create your own World of Warcraft or kind of futuristic RPG or MMORPG video game character, which is who you are. But then we're halfway between that and a Resident Evil, halfway to a full-blown zombie apocalypse. Because the people that we see around us on a daily basis, many of them are half zombified already, from eating the flesh of children, from drugs, from byproducts, from systemic abuse, from advertising, from branding, from all kinds of unconscious motivations and desires that make us move around in the world. And then we're branded by the system with these IDs, with this birth certificate that has a number on it and defines who we are, what our name is, what our linear age is, what our privileges are. I got rid of all of my ID personally because I went the extreme route. I decided to remove myself completely from the system and to live off grid. Now, I'm still recognized as such, but every time they ask me to make new ID, I tell them I don't need it. And then I say, if you want to pay for it, you can make me my ID. And they say, well, no, you're going to have to pay us to get ID. So you have to pay someone to use slave labor ink and slave labor plastic and a number that's going to brand you in a system that is then going to give you privileges of that system, supposedly, but also is going to ask you for paybacks, for dividends that they're going to ask you to pay in that system in order to be a citizen. For me personally, I'd rather be a free man. I'd rather be a free person.
Mm. Yeah, it starts right when you're born, like your birth certificates gets you like branded in a way. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's honestly kind of similar to the Holocaust and how people were branded as numbers. Like it's the same thing, but just
Yes.
instead of like actual like physical numbers like imprinted on people's skin, it's invisible. And it's definitely like ever since I was like so young, I've always known this is like a spiritual war that we're living in, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
We are. In the Holocaust, the only difference is it's like that song, Comfortably Numb. It's a comfortably numb Holocaust. We're living the greatest genocide in history, but it's happening behind closed doors in slaughterhouses, in the Amazon, in other places across the world where we see news reports, we see video footage, we see insider information. We battle for the rights of certain animals, but not certain others. We realize that the current laws in place, even for animal abuse, would make everybody who's a farmer guilty of genocide and war crimes. But they don't enforce those laws. They don't protect those children, those totems, those animals. They say we have a right to eat them. That's completely insane. To me, the first way to becoming a sovereign citizen and to remove yourself from that is to remove yourself from the greatest genocide in history and to openly speak about it. There's no other way to me than to be an animal activist, a nature activist, an insect activist, a plant activist. And to be a plant activist, you have to be a plant-based activist, but you have to be, or indigenous. You have to be, ITAL.
Yeah. What would you say to someone like, of course, like all of this knowledge and wisdom, it really opens your eyes and opens your mind. What would you say to someone who is having trouble coping with the real reality of the world?
I would say I get it because I go through that every single day as well too. But I'll tell you, it gives you the greatest purpose in the world to actually feel like you're fighting to defend those rights. Then you feel like a supernatural superhero character in your own video game, and you're like, I'm saving the world right now. I'm not contributing to destroying it, I'm helping to save it.
Hmm.
Now, you don't want to have that delusionally into an ego that pushes you to the level where you start thinking you're the savior of the world, because we all save the world together. There is no one person that saves the world. Even Jesus didn't save the world alone. He had a lot of friends. He had Mary Magdalene. He had people around him. He had Mother Mary. He had Saint Anne, was his grandmother. He had a lot of other people around him. He had his apostles. He had disciples. He had other people that supported what he was doing. So we can't save the world alone. We have to realize that we're all in this together. But then some people, you'll realize, are on the opposite side of the battle. And at this point, that's why I realize my friends now, they're few and far in between. But I realize who's on what side of the battle with me, who's down for, anything basically, and who's like, I'm here, ride or die. And who's gonna be like, sorry, I have a 9 to 5 job. I can't ruin my career or my reputation. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like people have gotten so used to the microcosm identity that society created for them instead of like like there's like the microcosm and the macrocosm. Like
Yeah,
the bigger that you go, then the more perspective and awareness that you gain. But then the smaller you stay in a bubble that was made for you, it keeps you trapped within your vision of who you think that you are, your lifestyle and everything like that. And literally
you're
like
right.
all
It's
of like
people
the
create a microclimate for themselves that feels like an illusory bubble of a golden age where they're like, well, I have my comforts, I have my creature comforts, I have my TV, I have my drugs, I have my this, I have my that, I have my food that they branded food, but it's toxic
yes.
shit, but it's comfort food. It feels good. I,
Yeah.
I want grits and chicken and I want fried chicken from KFC, or I want a burger from McDonald's because it's comfort food. I've seen people literally try to claim that it's an autistic comfort food to eat McDonald's. I was like, stop it. You're on social media with 10,000 followers and you're claiming you're autistic and you eat McDonald's for comfort food. This is horrible. How much did they pay you to lie about that?
Hmm. Yeah, like hmm. Yeah, honestly, like everything that we talk about, it sounds like it's out of like a crazy movie. Like it honestly doesn't even seem real, you know?
It is, and it's
Yeah.
nuts because it really is. If we started looking at all that's going on, we still benefit from a lot of privilege, even being able to have this conversation without bombs dropping or without somebody trying to come in to rape or murder us or something, or kidnap us or torture us for what we're talking about right now. But that's the privilege of living in a country like Canada that's actually a democracy that's a more progressive democracy in some senses than many other places that claim to be, but still not even close to what a true democracy should be like.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, the best advice that I can give anyone in a short amount of words is rise up, rise up like a
Yes,
and literally and metaphysically rise up. So like you ascend, you outgrow your environment in all ways, and you outgrow yourself, you outgrow all conceptions of self, you outgrow all of the constraints that keep you held down to the world. Yeah, and then eventually you climb these certain dimensions of existence, whether that's physical or metaphysical, and you build new foundations in those realms, and then you continue to do that into the higher dimensions. Like the only way that this realm can exist is from the foundation of a previous dimension. So it's kind of like it's built on top of one another. And as you become more refined and more in tune with what life actually is, then you're continually building like a kingdom on earth. And then, yeah,
Or queendom, or
yeah,
yeah,
kingdom,
indeed.
anything. Yeah, I want to
And
ask.
it's beautiful the way you put it as a phoenix, because the phoenix rises from its ashes. They try to burn us down to nothing. They literally burnt Tsiganes, gypsies. They burnt us alive for being who we were. They try to burn us, but we rise from our ashes. We
Hmm,
always reincarnate.
hmm. What would you say Earth is? Like, is Earth like why there's so many incarnations here? Why?
To me, it's like an experimental laboratory,
Yeah.
but it's been overtaken by a lot of nefarious forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends and we were talking about like the multiverse, and it's kind of like designed to maximize all possible scenarios of suffering and also of bliss that people can experience. So it's like
Hmm.
somewhat like a multiversal generator. Like
I agree.
I feel like there, because of like the world that we live in, there's many worlds within worlds. So the multiverse can be kind of like an artificial construct, and then we all exist as a section across this universal soul that exists on a higher dimension. So like even like people like one of my close friends, they tell me that they've experienced me and like meeting me in a past life that they've had. And sure, it may have been me, but a different aspect of me. You know, like there's so many
Yeah.
different parts and extensions of our soul.
Yeah, I've had many people tell me they had dreams of me being a monk, of being a warrior, of meditating with them, of hunting zombies with them, of dropping wisdom on them, being in a temple or something. And I'm like, this is wonderful. It's amazing. I'm very grateful that I have people that told me about these dreams. But then those are other aspects of me. Those are probably not as directly connected to who I am in this realm, but those are higher aspects of me that are basically truer than who I am right now.
What do you think of the multiverse? Like, do you think that there's different extensions of you living alternate realities all at the same instance that we're existing in right now?
They are, but the problem is Jeff explained that to me a long time ago. A guy called the Third Eye Scientist. He explained this concept to me a long time ago. And he explained that every single fraction of a second, we're constantly recreating a different quantum reality for ourselves. The problem is, we live in a reality where religions try to collapse quantum reality and force one possible outcome for everyone, which is eternal damnation or eternal submission. But then quantum reality tells you there's infinite possibilities and perspectives. There's at least 216 stable quantum physics dimensions that have been mapped out so far, and that's what corresponds to the density level of a phoenix. So once you're a sovereign being, you can map out your own destiny. They cannot control who you are anymore. They can't push you either towards complete annihilation or towards complete submission, but they still try to force you into that false binary.
Hmm, false binary. False binary, bro. That's big. Because like
Mhm.
this binary existence that we live in is so polarized, and it's so split and reversed inside out.
Yep. Yeah, and it's crazy because most people are like, well, of course I'm submitting to religion. I don't want to burn in eternal hells. And I'm like, I'll take my risks. I'd rather not submit to your evil void of a god. No, thank you. I don't believe in patriarchy, white supremacy, misogyny, queerphobia, anything that's associated with your religions in general. I have nothing to do with that. I battle against that shit. I'm an avenger. So I'm like, you pick your side. You want to be submitted to an evil god? I'll go battle your evil god, and then you'll be the submitted underlings that were basically working as little demonic spawns, you know?
Yeah, like we're gonna die. We're gonna die as like there's no doubt about it. Like we cannot take this life
Of
for
course.
granted. So
So we might as well do something good. Might as well go out
exactly.
with a bang, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I don't get why some people are like, this is delusional. Why do you? I get people who cosplay so much. I get people who dress up as other people, who create their personalities, who go to raves or other places. I'm like, I feel that, because I'm like, why wouldn't you want to live your life as a supernatural character? Why'd you want to be boring? People that are like, I don't believe tattoos, you're selling your body. I'm like, what do you mean? That's not selling my body. If my body is a temple and your temples are covered in art, what's wrong with me having tattoos? It makes me feel supernatural. Somebody like, you smoke marijuana. I'm like, that's a panacea. It's a flower, but you're popping pills. Somebody else says, you can't even walk outside sometimes because you don't want to hurt the insects. That you can't do anything. I'm like, what do you mean by anything? I can stay inside, have an amazing time, listen to a bunch of music, make some super good food. I can go out on the balcony. I can go chill around. I can wait till it's nighttime, wait for the insects to go down. When it gets like cooler, I can walk outside. I can do all kinds of stuff, but I have different standards of living. To me, that's what actually confers those supernatural cities, those supernatural abilities upon me, because I
Mm.
choose to respect nature.
Yeah, and also that goes into like we're all existing in an ecosystem. Like this ecosystem has like our friends, our what we like to eat, like how we survive on a day-to-day basis. And this ecosystem or like garden that we exist in, we have to make sure that we're always maintaining this garden. And that means like being careful of who we surround ourselves with and what their mindsets add to our mindsets. And if we're either building with those people or creating more weeds and distortion in our realities because of those people or external entities or anything like that. And
Exactly.
it could be anything like the food that you eat, the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you speak to yourself, the relationship that you have with yourself. Like one of my close friends, she is like her own best friend. You know, she always is like uplifting herself and being like her own cheerleader to like congratulate
You
herself
know,
in
I
terms of
feel like I do that in my music for myself.
growth. Yeah,
I
bro.
feel like that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm uplifting myself in my music by saying, no, this is why the music reminds me that I'm actually still relevant, that I'm still myself, because it reminds me of my higher self. But it also reminds me of my lower self having a purpose. Even if you send me to hell, I'm going to go clean up. Somebody sent me to hell, said, you have to go clean up in hell. I'd be like, give me my double flaming swords. I'll go
Mm.
clean up some demons. Somebody said, well, you made it to the heavens. I'd say, what are we doing here? What are we cleaning up? Who do we need to go help? So I said, okay, well, you got to go to purgatory. I'd be like, that doesn't sound that great. Let's turn it into a beautiful tropical island.
Exactly. And yeah, the good will always prevail. You know, like
Yep,
we wouldn't exist if evil was the leading force in this reality.
exactly. But then
Yeah.
people don't seem to want to realize that. And then we have to pull other people out of that reality sometimes by reminding them, listen, what you're doing is passive evil. You think you're not actively evil because you're like, I'm not the one murdering and eating those raped and tortured children. That's the butcher. I'm like, but you're eating and purchasing. That's the demand for it. It's like going to a snuff porn industry and being like, well, I'm just taking the leftover bodies of the children that got murdered here. I need some meat. I'm not the one killing those children and raping them. I'm like, you're part of that industry. People hate to hear that, but it's like, no, that's the reason why I'm labeled as terrorist and why I'm on watch lists across the planet, because I'm a hardcore animal activist and I'm proud of that. I'm very proud to say that.
Yeah, bro. I feel that. Yeah, and like, yeah, we live in such a multifaceted reality that you have to be careful of being kind of like locked within a certain frequency and then just accept that that's what life is.
Exactly. No, it's super important for us to be multidimensional and faceted in that way. That's why my music is so reflects all of those different vibrational frequencies and facets as well. I've focused a lot more on horrorcore recently, but I wanted to do that because I had never explored that. So in my life, I had barely ever done music like that. Everybody knew me as that mythological person that's always really positive, and people like Son of Saturn, like some other people, like Atma, like they used to make fun of me for that and say that I wasn't hardcore enough, that I wasn't. I'm like, okay, you want me to be hardcore? Let's see. I'll get to horrorcore level, then we'll see what you look like. And then after that, I'll go back to making a romantic album. Then I'll make a futurist one. Then I'll make an intersectional one. Then I'll make a native shamanic one, and then I'll make an Indian one with some prakrit. I'll make a Japanese one. It's to me that's what shows the multifaceted aspects of that reality you're describing is to be
Yeah.
able to shift around, to make some punk music, maybe even make some heavy metal, make some rock, make something with a sampled guitar beat from South America. Do something different. That you've inspired me a lot to do that.
This shifts up the conversation a bit just to lead into a direction
Oh,
of
of
closing
course.
it up. But
To me, music
like,
is freedom, though. Ultimate freedom, you can get that through music.
for
We can
sure.
get
Yeah.
the freedom that we need. We can actually get through music as medicine, through food as medicine, through water as medicine. through good medicines in general that could be minerals, elements, vitamins, but keep it ital, keep it natural, keep it organic if you can, non-GMO.
Yeah.
But to me, music is such a quintessential part of my life. I don't know what I'd do without it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't feel free without music.
Wow. Dude, imagine what life would be like without music.
Oh, I don't want to think, because Hitler
Yeah.
was kind of like that. He wanted to control everything. He wanted to control what kind of music we could listen to and everything else. And I'm like, I just want to control what kind of music we shouldn't listen to. I think it should be illegal to use the B word to describe women. It should be illegal to use the F word to describe queer people. I think all that music should be banned. But then, other than that, I think all the other stuff that's beautiful out there, I'm like, keep it, you know?
Hmm. Okay, well, honestly, I feel like that's a good spot to leave it off for this episode. That was pretty filled. Like we talked about the entire apocalypse and everything like that. So yeah, man, good job for channeling everything that you did.
Yo, likewise, and thank you to everyone for listening. I think this was an interesting kind of a ramble conversation, but it went on a lot of specific subjects, and it's all really related to survival. To me, music is one of the greatest keys to survival. So please go check out Revolt Motion if you want to. Go check out everything else, and dig far and wide. Drink deep from the Pierian Spring. Thank you again for everything, brethren.
Awesome. I bless the space. Thank you.
Likewise.